John Moody, who serves as the National Director of Operations for our organization. He's responsible for making sure that there's coordination in how we are spreading the green around the country. Next to him is our Mpumalanga Provincial Chairperson, Mamtogo Mashiane, who's also here with us. Thank you, Mamtogo, for coming through to support us. Next to Mamtogo, we have our National Chairperson. National Chairperson. No, I just paused just for jokes, but for dramatic effect. Mr. Michael Beaumont is our National Chairperson. He's responsible for cracking the whip when it's necessary in the organization. Welcome, Michael. And then I'm going to skip a row because the main event is the gentleman who's next to Michael, so I will introduce him later. Next to me is Ndate Herman Mashaba, Babu Herman Mashaba, who is the president of ActionSA and the main person as to how all of us came to come together and work together. On my right, Kana, what's your name, sir? His name is Alan Beasley. Alan Beasley is currently our caucus leader in eThekwini, and also is responsible for everything that we need to happen by way of the Mula. And then next to him, Omang, sir? Faisal Kasim is quite the operator. He is our caucus leader in Newcastle and does a lot of work. I think you've all seen Faisal in your regional newspapers quite a lot. He does quite a lot of work for us there. So thank you all. Thank you all of the leadership who are here, part of our Senate who are here. I'm going to now hand over to our national chairperson to address all of you. Michael, I have to give you this because
Thank you very, very much, Lorato. My greetings to the panel, and so very importantly, my greetings to those actioners who've come to be with us here today, to members of the media, and to the most important group of people, the residents of KwaZulu-Natal. I greet you, and I greet you warmly in the name of ActionSA. It is a very important occasion today. Not just for us professionally, for me personally. I grew up in the city. I was born and raised in Durban, and it is just so important that ActionSA is able to provide a political alternative in this province, a province that has been beset by enormous tragedies and disaster in the last 2 years, and so important that ActionSA can be a voice of hope in a province otherwise without hope. And this is such an important role for us to play as an organization. And I also think it is hugely important for me to take a moment to recognize how it is that we came to be here. Because whenever we announce a provincial chairperson, I'm always at pains to point out that the province didn't start its work today, but that the province, in terms of our ActionSA structures, have been hard at work since the day we launched the People's Dialogue in December 2019. And I see so many faces in the room of people who went out and pioneered and created structures of ActionSA in their communities and have been a voice keeping ActionSA not just alive, but growing rapidly, with branches launching across KwaZulu-Natal. And I think in so many ways it is fitting for us to pay a tribute to you for the incredible work that you have done in getting ActionSA where it is today. And thank you very much. But today is a hugely important moment because it is so important that we have strong leadership in place. It is a project that Herman Mashaba has been focused on since the beginning of this year. And as we stand today, KwaZulu-Natal will be the second to last province to have such a leader appointed. You all know we've been through trials and tribulations when it comes to leadership, and we've weathered that storm, and proudly so, because we've emerged on the other side as a grouping of people who remain united in our work to fix South Africa and to fix KwaZulu-Natal. And it is so important that that effort is effectively led, because we know that the politics of KwaZulu-Natal is difficult, it's challenging. There's so much to be done in such a large rural geography that needs to be covered. But what we have is fantastic teams of people on the ground who have delivered amazing work in building our structures. And I know with the individual to my right that I will begin to introduce to you shortly, that those structures are really going to begin to take off, and ActionSA will emerge as the political alternative in this province. But I think with all of that being said, I'm very much the curtain raiser, and it is important for me to introduce the man to my right. Zwakele Mncwango was born in Nongoma in rural Zululand in 1979. That makes him 43 years of age, and I say that because that is another person who fits under the category of relative youth in South African politics. And I say relative youth because not only is he young in spirit, but also, let's be honest, the average age in our parliament is starting to look a little bit like an old age home. So when we start to have young and vibrant and dynamic people who have experience, but they are young, they have such an important role that has to be played, and we are very confident Zwakele can play that role for us. He was one of 18 children growing up, and the only one that got to go to university. And I think in that story lies so much about what we need to do for South Africa and the hope that we need to provide. He is married with 3 children, and he began life not as a politician, but as a field engineer. And we like people who come to politics having succeeded in something, not people who come to politics and get rich in politics. We must be very nervous of people who get rich in politics. And as a field engineer, he entered the Democratic Alliance a long time ago in 2001. And I think for anyone who's come today in the hopes that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about where Zwakele comes from, I need to disappoint you right now. That's not our agenda at all. We're here today to talk about where Zwakele and ActionSA is going to. And I would like us to understand that about today. Today is a celebration for where ActionSA is going. We all come from somewhere, but we all got to go and fix South Africa together. And I think particularly important that in that time, Zwakele worked through the ranks of that party. And why that is so important is you need leaders who've come through the structures, who understand what it means to be a branch chairperson and understand what the needs of a branch are. And he's done that through a constituency. He was the provincial youth leader. He was a councillor here in eThekwini for many years and the caucus leader here in eThekwini for many years, before he moved on to the provincial legislature as the leader of that caucus, until recently the chief whip and the provincial leader of that party in this province. And I think from that perspective, what he brings to the table is an enormous amount of leadership abilities and experience, but certainly looking forward to applying that in a new dynamic in a party that is much more free to build and grow in all directions. He has a BTech from what is now the Durban University of Technology. He has an MBA from KZN and involved in a number of short courses at various international schools in strategic planning, governance, and leadership. But in so many ways, I'm sure you will understand what I mean when I tell you, is that a bio or a CV can only tell you so much about a man or a woman. And I can tell you I've known the man to my right for many, many years, and so have other people around this table. And we know him to be a man of principle. We know him to be a man of high ethics. And we know him to be a man that puts South Africa at the core of his agenda. And those are the kind of leaders we want in ActionSA. And those are the kind of people who are growing ActionSA on a daily basis in our structures. So I think with nothing further to be said from me, thank you so much for being here. And it is my great pleasure to introduce Zwakele to you today.
Thank you, Michael. Sanbonan. Niyaphila. No, thanks, Michael, and greetings, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And Michael have said, we are not here to discuss the acts. I'm not a bitter ex. For me, it's about looking forward. The big question right now is many people want to know why I joined ActionSA. And the simple answer is it's because I want to fix South Africa. I've traveled the entire province, and all I can tell you, people want hope. All they need is hope. And for us as politicians is to keep giving people hope. That hope that can build South Africa for all of us, where no one is left behind. After much reflection, I realized the mission was complete because there were questions. Now I left legislature, now I left the former party, what am I going to be doing moving forward? While there were many options, but it became clear for me that the mission is not complete and I have to come to politics and really play my part. And I have an assignment to serve people of South Africa, more especially people of KwaZulu-Natal. That's my assignment moving forward. Ever since I have left the former party, I have been approached by many South Africans, especially in this province, and some members of ActionSA, whom the speculation they've left the organization, and I can tell you right now, many of them, Mashaba, are saying they want to come back. It would be encouraging, really, to see many members who are former members of ActionSA to come back, not because they believe there's something wrong with ActionSA, but they somehow felt there's a vacuum in leadership. And I think that's what I must provide. I'm here to provide leadership. Part of the reason why I've joined ActionSA is that personally, I do believe, after reflecting also, the policies and the values mainly of the ActionSA are aligned to my personal values. And I think it's very important that we build a country on a base of principle. And I think we can do that. What touched me mainly, because I believe in a non-racial society, and I believe it's a core and important value of ActionSA. We need to start focusing on equality in terms of opportunities, not really the outcome. And I think that's very important when we want to build our country. We need to start building an inclusive economy in our country. Our people are starving in poverty. And I know, Mashaba, you always talk about social justice. It's close to my heart because we need a proper agenda. We can't play around that. We need to start engaging on these issues to say, how do we help our poor people on the ground? Because there is no use to sit in a Lazarus life, while you pass many areas, people starving on poverty. The question is, how do you take those people along with us? And I do believe in a rule of law. And I think we need to ensure that our communities are safe and we are in a crime-free zone. Because currently, many of you walking around here, you are scared because you're not safe in this country. We need to have ethical leaders. And I think that's very important if we want to build this country. And I think for me, I strongly believe, Mr. Mashaba, we need to start screening politicians. We can't have Inkabi being leaders in our country. We can't. It's so embarrassing at times where you find politicians having to engage with reports in parliament or councils where the same very politician can understand what is on the report. How do you hold officials to account if yourself as a politician can understand what's in this report? So I think it's important that as political parties, we start to send people who can really add value in parliament, not just numbers, not someone who sit there and approve the agenda and say agree. We need to interrogate those reports. And this is why I'm saying we need to build this country with capable individuals. And I strongly believe that ActionSA will play a role in terms of fighting quality education and equal education for all. Because to get economy right, we must get education right. If we are not getting education right, there is no way we can build this country. There's no way we can prosper. We need to fix our healthcare system. We need to ensure that every South African is able to receive equal healthcare system, not where you have to go to private sector to get a better healthcare system. We must fix our public institutions. And I strongly believe that we need to start taking along people in rural areas, because currently it seems the focus is around urban areas, which leave many South Africans, because majority of South Africans are living in rural areas. We must start doing something about rural areas. We need to revive our transport industry. We can't allow a situation where at a moment, if Transnet is not operating, economy is dull. Nothing is happening. If trucks are blocking highways, nothing happens. So it means you have no economy moving. So we need to start doing that. But I spoke about creating safe environment. I have young kids. I want them to live in a free country where they can walk on the streets. I want to be in a country where women and children are protected. I want to live in a country where, as men, take responsibility to protect our women and children. Because we can't always delegate this work to government, we must take responsibility. KZN once used to be a tourist destination. Something is not right now. We are no more attracting tourists. We need to clean our cities. We need to ensure that we have safe places around. Cities must expropriate unused buildings. We must, for the better use. Home Affairs must play their part in dealing with undocumented migrants. We have to. You go to a South Beach manje. It used to be one of the best places. Thina sifike eThekwini, Mr. Mashaba, kwakunewheel. Wawukwazi ukukhipha khona intombi. Wekwazi ukuthi ayikhiphe ngempela. Uyabona seyindawo eyazi ukuthi safe. Not anymore. Now the question is what this government is doing about abantu abangenama documents over South Africa. That's why I'm saying we need to act on all these issues. But to do that, we need to ensure that we bring stakeholders along. In my journey, as I'm going to be starting working on the ground, I will start engaging with business communities, religious leaders, traditional leaders, because the narrative that politicians have solutions, I think is wrong. We can't always think politicians alone have solution of this country. We need to work together with different stakeholders and able to engage on what is best for moving forward. For me right now, I need to focus on the next election. And I strongly believe that there's a possibility to form a government with other parties. And I have no doubt ANC would drop below 50%. It will happen. But the question is what then happens if ANC drop below 50%? And I believe that parties must start engaging on principle to say what kind of principle you agree on. When you take over government, you don't find this anarchy happening all over now where there's coalition arrangements. You must agree on certain principles to say what needs to be changed, what needs to be done. That must be done before elections. So that when you start from these governments, at least there's a purpose behind these coalition talks, not about position, whose place where. It's about the people on the ground. As I said, we need to start bringing hope to our people. So right now, for me, what I need to start doing is to run the ground. I'm going to be on the ground. I'm going to be engaging with different communities. I'm going to be ensuring that ActionSA grow in the province, because I know how. I know what needs to be done. And I joined ActionSA, Mr. Mashaba, because your vision is about uniting South Africans. There was no way I can join any party that seek to divide our nation. We need to ensure that all of us will work together, because KZN is the most diverse province. You know? So if you believe you're going to divide people in this province, you will never run it anyway. So what's the point in being in politics? So you need to unite everyone. Black, white, Indian, you must work together. That is my mission moving forward. I'm going to be engaging all those communities. I'm going to be on the ground engaging all those communities. But after all is being said, I am really happy to be part of ActionSA, and I'm glad I'm warmly welcomed by leadership, and I'm going to be working with all of you as activists, and I'm going to be also meeting caucuses. There's a caucus in Newcastle, in Aduguza, and eThekwini. I'm going to be engaging with them. I'm going to be working very closely with all the districts. But I can assure you, Mr. Mashaba, we will retain all those who have left the party moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Provincial Chairperson for eThekwini. Please give him another round. KZN, sorry, of KZN. You are most welcome. We are so excited to have you as part of our leadership. It's really fantastic. So you're definitely welcome. Colleagues, I'm going to give just a shot. I don't need these. I'm just going to give a shot to our Mpumalanga Provincial Chairperson, Mamtogo Mashiane, just as a fellow chairperson, to give just a few words of support to our newly anointed Provincial Chairperson for KwaZulu-Natal.
Sanibonani KwaZulu-Natal. Abantu baseKhakhama. Ngeke ngaba umakoti KwaZulu-Natal bangilahla. Amaqiniso sibowasho, but that's not for the news. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, to the KZN Provincial Chairperson, Ubaba Mncwango, we are mostly welcome to this. The president normally say to this brutal work with good rewards. I came here not only to support, but because I've got an interest in the politics of KZN. That's where I started my political career with the UDF. But mostly is that we are real neighbors with KZN and mpumalanga. We share the borders of Mozambique and Swaziland. We have the same problems of the undocumented illegal foreigners who are taking our medicines, who are taking our schools, who are doing all the things. So I think the two of us must talk a lot, because we also have the most rural areas with so much unemployment. So there's a lot of things that we need to help each other, so that the other one doesn't start afresh when the other one has got the solution. So that's my interest, really. I hope we'll work well together. And it's so nice, as Michael was saying, that you need to start from the branch for you to become the leader, because you'll understand the problems of the branch chairperson. When the branch chairperson tells you about the problems, you'll understand them because you have been there. But if you have been parachuted and you come tomorrow, you're just a provincial leader. When a branch has a problem, you don't understand why they can't solve that problem. Why must they come to you? So welcome, really. I'm so excited, honestly, I'm so excited. ActionSA will show people flames. We'll show them, come 2024, we're going to show them flames. They won't believe. At times I sit and imagine myself sitting in that IEC center on that day when the results are counted, and I see people drinking water, not because they need water, but because they are about to faint. So I think Michael and John will make sure that I have a lot of water, because I must give it to my friends. They mustn't faint before the results are announced. Welcome, Babu Mncwango. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Mam Togo. I think we must show them flames. We have no other option, because they have shown us devastating flames over the last couple of years that they have ruled. With that said, colleagues, I now welcome the head of our organization, the president of our organization. He needs absolutely no introduction. We all know him, Mr. Herman Mashaba.
Thank you, Lurato. Zwakele, I don't know whether to call you Zwakele or new chairperson or Mr. Mncwango. What a privilege for me to get this opportunity to work with you directly. I had an opportunity to work with this young man when I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg in FedEx of our former party. And I found him to really be an extraordinary, exceptional South African. I never thought in my wildest dream that one day I'll work with him, because I never had any ambition to one day be permanent in politics. But it appears to me that my life is determined by someone else above me than actually myself. If I look back at the trajectory of my life, it keeps taking turns in sometimes brutal manner, sometimes in a positive and rewarding manner. So thank you so much, Zwakele, for really accepting this huge responsibility. Obviously not forgetting my colleagues, Michael Berman, who is our national chairperson, who spends most of his time playing cards. But obviously, I think during the process of playing cards, he becomes even sharper. So really, that is why I always encourage him to play cards, because they make him sharper and make him, actually, he gets the energy to work even harder. And obviously, John, who's our National Director of Operation, and also really be proud to be joined by our colleagues from here in KZN. Faisal, doing some amazing work in Newcastle. I'm sure, Faisal, you are aware, always really very proud of the work that you do. Every time, every day, as you and your wife, your family, your colleagues, and I said to myself, what a great South Africans to be associated with. And Alan, a chartered accountant by profession, I took him out. We took Alan out of retirement, and because he was saying no, you guys must contest KZN, and I said, okay, we contest KZN. You wanna put us into this mat? You're joining us, and today Alan is a ward councillor. I really doubt, and I'm sure he must be one of the most qualified councillors in the country. Successful businessman, retired accountant. I think the Etiquette municipality, it's actually a privilege to have someone like him on the council. And Toko, thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Siraj from Kwatuguza, my home. So we live in the same neighborhood, and he tried everything possible a few months ago to take over government, because Mr. Siraj is aware of my agenda, which is not hidden. It's an open secret that I did not join politics to be in opposition. I joined politics to be in government, because being in government, that's when I believe you can make a difference in the lives of your fellow South Africans, not in opposition. All of us here, we're not in this job because we're looking for a salary or for our stomach. We are here to look after society. And the only way you can look after society, that's when you're in government. I've seen Tatin Tuli there. I mean, what a wonderful human being in Nongoma. I don't know if you know Tatin Tuli. I don't know what mood he uses what Muti uses to open one branch after the other. I mean, it's an unbelievable, incredible man. Tatinku Nduli, you know what? We are watching you. We're proud of you, immensely proud of the work that you do. And all our activists in KZN, we really apologize for the hiccups we've had ever since after the local government elections. But you know what? I'm a strong believer in what God ultimately determines. Obviously, you want things to work right, and you want them to work right the first time. But life doesn't work like that. If there's one person who makes mistake in life, it's Herman Mashaba. I can admit, I'm not a perfect man. I'm fallible. But one thing for sure, I don't make deliberate mistakes. So when you deal with me, you can be assured that you are dealing with someone who's going to deal with you with total honesty, with all the best intentions in the world. But please, if I make a mistake, forgive me, because I did not make a deliberate mistake. That being said, but please also don't mislead me. I've always said on numerous occasions throughout my life that my grandfather taught me that if someone double crosses you, you must show them your brutality. And I think this whole teaching was really more to instill in me not to really double cross other people. But I must obviously stand for my right and stand for what I believe in. So I've really been really fortunate. I'm a 63-year-old South African who's supposed to be, right now as I'm talking to you, I'm supposed to be at the line where Cyril Ramaphosa is giving me the 350, and I actually still needed to have a 50 rands to bribe to get that 350. Yeah? So I'm at that age. I'm doing this brutal job that I hate, but the job that, for me, honestly and truly believes that I'm one of the most fortunate human beings on earth. I was born and come from a small village called Haramutsi, born and raised in a child-headed household, brought up by my sisters. My elder one was 13 years my senior. Because when I woke up to this world, when I was 5, 6, I was told my father decided to die when I was 2. And then I asked where's my mother? My mother was working as a domestic worker in Johannesburg. Spent a big part of my youth in a tin house. We used to call it a tin house. Today, they call them informal settlements. I don't know if they think a tin house, by calling an informal settlement, will make it better. You can imagine growing up in a tin house in Amanskral. When it's hot, it really gets hot. When it gets cold, it really gets cold. I lived most part of my life in that. And that's actually what informed my decision. It's actually something that is in my DNA. That's why I believe in social justice. As a privileged South African right now, and I can regard myself honestly and truly to be a privileged South African, because I've got a house in Sandton, and I've also got a house here in KZN. I'm a resident, full-fledged South African resident of KZN. So I'm one of you. You're one of me. But I don't really take this for granted, because when I look at millions of our people living in squalor that I've just related to you about my upbringing. My upbringing was terrible, but I can tell you it's unfortunate. 28 years into our democracy, our people live in squalor, worse than the one that I was brought us under. It's actually quite sad, and I'm taking this personally to say, no, I don't want to live in a society like this. I'm going to do this job because someone else is going to do it. But now, all of a sudden, I get surrounded by great South Africans that I admire. And here's the latest one, Zwakele, to lead this very important province of KZN. KZN is actually second to Gauteng, the most important province for South Africa. And I'm really confident, Zwakele, knowing the little 3 years that I've worked with you, and the teams that we've got on the ground, the teams that we've got in the 3 municipalities, ActionSA can only go from strength to strength. We surprised South Africa. We shocked them. We gave them palpitations last year because a few weeks or so before the last local government elections, we used to be called the biggest joke to emerge out of a political environment. We contested 6 municipalities, but emerged as the 6th biggest political party in the country. But I think for me it was not only just really emerging as the biggest, 6th biggest political party in the country. I don't know if Mr. Mncwango, you are aware, ActionSA in terms of our electoral support, not even Nelson Mandela received the kind of support that we received from all communities. You can come to Sandton where I live, you can go to Soweto, you can go to Alexander, Mamelodi, Waterkloof, Lodium. We received the same kind of support throughout. No political party in this country has ever achieved such results, such electoral support. What does this actually say to us as ActionSA? That's why beginning of this year, we had, after COVID, we had a 3-day session where we came out of that strat session to confirm to South Africa that ActionSA is going to emerge come 2024 as the 2nd biggest political party in South Africa. And I can tell you right now, watching the developments, and we're watching them very closely, ActionSA is not only going to emerge as the 2nd biggest political party come 2024. ActionSA is going to emerge as the biggest political party in South Africa. Yes, we'd love to have outright majority, but I think we have to be realistic. I come from the sales background, and for almost 35 years or so, pushing salespeople to deliver and always give them stretched targets. And I always like to really give people stretched targets. I'm saying to them, guys, I want 90 million rands this month. And they want to give me a budget of 60 million rands. You know what? I pushed them. They come out with 75 million rands. Have they failed? No ways. So I'm actually conditioned to really operate that way. Right now, we are pushing ActionSA's. And because South Africans are looking for hope, South Africans are despondent. We've just come out of a meeting right now. Just spent 1.5 hours with one of the prominent person here in KZN. And really people are discouraged about the political developments in South Africa. So people are looking for hope. So what we need ActionSA's to do is to give South Africans hope that come 2024, ActionSA is going to be the party that is going to lead the coalition government that is going to be formed. Yep. And when ActionSA actually leads a coalition government, if there's one politician in this country to lead a complex coalition government, I'm one of them. I led the city of Johannesburg. For 3 years. With no experience. I can tell you the first day when I went to job as a mayor after being elected, I have no idea what the mayor does. Fact. Even when I accepted when I said I must be a mayoral candidate, what does a mayor do? And all of a sudden I'm elected. Now, what, my goodness, what am I going to, what does a mayor do actually, you know? Then I'm told I'm the leader of caucus. What is caucus? Honestly, I had no idea what caucus is. I'm told I'm the leader of council. Now I must lead all the other political parties, even the ones that I join politics to unseat them. Then I'm the leader. Now we have 2024 to save, because one thing I'm totally convinced, and I'm not a prophet, and I would never profess to be one. Come 2024, if ActionSA does not emerge as the biggest political party to form a coalition government, this country is doomed. So I want to really call upon all the actioners throughout the country. We have to save this country and fix it. Because we will respect our coalition partners. We are not going to treat our coalition partners with disrespect. We will treat them with the understanding that it is not about us. It's not even about our children. I keep telling my children every day, I'm actually working for my grandchildren. My grandchildren are going to be the ones who are going to benefit out of the work that we are doing today. So today, we've now got the 8th provincial chairperson. Next week, this time, I'll be in Cape Town announcing the last of the 9 provincial chairperson. So by next week, this time, ActionSA will have 9 provincial chairpersons in the country. And now our focus is going to be on ensuring that we target the 25 million plus South Africans who have lost interest in politics, those who have been told that they are a nobody. We are going to demonstrate to them the power of their vote. We are not going to focus on people joining ActionSA, being members of ActionSA. That's not important. I can have 5 million members of ActionSA, but if they are not registered to vote, they don't mean anything to us. What's important is not to wait for IEC to register people, because IEC is part of the problem that we're having in this country. They are not involved in voter education. ActionSA is taking over that responsibility to show South Africans, to educate South Africans about the importance of democracy. And you guys, all actioners all over the country, please, let's go all out on our mobile phones, on our laptops, everywhere. Let us take people into IEC offices. Let's not wait for a IEC voter registration weekend. Let's, as of today, go all out to make sure that we can register as many people as possible, because registering someone who had given up on politics, automatically that person is going to vote. And who are they going to vote for? ActionSA. So for me, thank you so much, Zwakele, for being the 8th provincial chairperson, coming into a province where we've tried before, but we never failed. We've learned the lessons, good lessons. So you are taking over from really committed actioners. In this room, some of us are sitting here with us, from Mr. Siraj, Faisal, Allen, Mr. Nduli, the rest of the teams are actually, I see one of our senators is here as well. Mustafa, who's supposed to be in hospital, came all the way to really come and really bless us. Mustafa has been our senator from day one. Musa, thank you so much for being here. Really, your presence means a lot to us. And all of you, actioners, Unati, without Mr. Parok, Every time I'm looking for something in KZN, if I know I need it sorted out, I know who to connect. So you've got good, committed South Africans where we are going to build a non-racial South Africa. We are going to build a fair society. We are going to ensure that education receives our highest priority so that your grandchildren and mine can one day say, you know what? I remember on the 17th of October 2022, our grandparents had a press conference in KZN and made this promise, and here we are the beneficiaries of that project. Thank you very much to the media for showing interest in this great South Africa. I know you've been anxious the last few days. I know some of you in the media with good intentions, you tried every trick in the book to confirm who was coming, you know. But obviously, I think we wanted to be here, get it from the horse's mouth. Here, it's our man, really very proud to really have him, not just as a brother. Today is my colleague working with us, all of us, to save this country and fix it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tate Mashaba. Colleagues, I'm now going to open for a Q&A. I know you've been burning, some of you. You couldn't wait for us to get through our remarks, so you can punch in your questions. Let me remind you that the questions that you need to ask, please let them be forward-thinking. We are not, responding to previencities. I've just coined a new term. I'm going to take questions from members of the media, 3 at a time. Please state your organization that you represent, your name, and the person to whom you are posing the question. If it's any, say that. If not, please tell us who they are. Any takers? We covered all our needs. Going once. So, sir, I'll take your hand. I'm sure you'll inspire other people to raise their hands. Does it mean that all of you wanted to ask questions of the previous? Clearly. Okay. All right. Let's give him the floor. Sir, please state your name and the organization you represent.
Thank you so much. My name is Zwakele Mncwango from the Daily News. Yeah. So, I wanted to know something, not necessarily about what's happening here. So, Michael is shaking his head. So, can I continue? Ask me something? Oh, all right. Now, I want to speak about something that is happening also here in the province, but not here now. So, in Newcastle, so there was an issue with your ward councillor, Singh, that I know you guys did okay. You accused DA of bribing that councillor. Now, I've got an affidavit from the councillor saying there was no such. Now, we want to know from you guys what actually happened.
That is forward thinking. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, Michael, okay. Who's taking that?
Michael will to take it.
In fact, I was hoping someone was going to ask that question. I was shaking my head that it happened so soon. No, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I'll try and talk in this direction so that I'm speaking into all these mics. So, I note the statement that has been released by the Democratic Alliance today, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to respond because it is necessary to set facts straight in dealing with these issues. But we deal with them on a very factual basis. We don't deal with them on an emotive one. And I want to go back a little bit in time. In South Africa, we had floor crossing. It was a very painful time politically because what we saw is that political seats were becoming like, we call them prostitutes, where people would cross to the other side for inducements. And then here we are in 2022, and here you have the Democratic Alliance, who, through a number of engagements, sat down our ward councillor in Newcastle in Ward 25 by the name of Shandy Singh and asked him to resign his seat from council, resign his commitment that he had made to the residents of that ward, which was a pact formed in an election. And what I now understand is that the inducement to do so was the number one position on the PR list in Newcastle in the next election. Now, Mr. Singh might well have signed an affidavit stating that, but he had the foolishness to send me a voice note in which he confirmed that this is what he was offered. Now, I'm going to ask you, perhaps, as the media, what do you call it when you ask someone to resign their commitment to the residents of their ward and you offer them job security by way of things down the line? And that's what we called it. We called out a press statement and said we're laying charges of bribery. We didn't find anyone guilty of bribery. We're not a judge. I'm not a lawyer by training, but we're laying charges of bribery. And I think, irrespective of where you land on this issue, there's a case to be answered for here. Because what do you call that when you go and sit someone down and you say, forget about the commitment you made to the residents, forget about the commitment you've made to the party, we're going to, induce you to go and resign those commitments and come and work for us. And I know what the Democratic Alliance is doing. They're doing this because they want to try and create parallels with what's happening with the man to my right, because he's resigned his seat to come and work for us. But you know the difference here is that people are leaving that organization not because of money. They take less money when they come here. We can't afford to pay people what they pay. We can't afford to pay people government salaries. We can't. We're a new organization. We receive no public funding. We have to raise every cent of money we get ourselves. So when people come here, they earn less. They lose money. But you know why they come here? It's because they're committed to the project to fix South Africa. And that's the difference. We are bringing people to create a political home so that we can unite in our efforts to fix South Africa. Other political parties are calling our people to try and get them to resign, to renege on their commitment they made to the residents of that ward. And let me add, that is a municipality that was recently won away from the ANC. And yet the Democratic Alliance appears quite happy to cause a by-election in a ward which was won with only 30% of the vote and risk the return of Newcastle back to the ANC. But we've seen that here in KwaZulu-Natal. I'm glad that our caucus leader is here, and forgive me if I'm going to have a bit of a rant now, but it's important to say. What South Africans must begin to see is that there are some political parties that are invested in the project of removing the ANC from government, and there are other political parties that are not. We should have a coalition government in KwaZulu-Natal today, and we do not. And it appears some think that we should have the ANC back in Newcastle so we can play games with by-elections. We think that's very irresponsible politics, and we're not going to play that kind of politics. But what we're not going to do is back down from the fact that what we believed happened here may be unlawful. And we will have that case with absolute pleasure, and we will answer for things with absolute pleasure, and we will actually see to it that those charges laid are investigated, because they need to be investigated. South Africa didn't end floor crossing way back when, only to start a new era in 2022. We should be clear about that.
I'm going to give another round, going once,
Where's Linda?
going twice.
Where's
Linda,
Linda
where
from?
are you?
Linda from Senate.
She here. Well, she may be joining us online.
Okay.
We
No,
are
why I'm
live
asking
on
about
Facebook.
Linda, I had a very interesting discussion. She wanted to trick me the other day to confirm. I said, Linda, come to the press conference. You'll get it from the horse's mouth. So I thought perhaps she is here. So, okay, if she's obviously watching
may be
on,
online.
if she's watching online, Linda, I'm confirming this is our.
Sira, do we have any questions coming from online? Do we have any questions? Nothing? All right. Thank you very much, colleagues. There we go. All right. Okay, can you tell us where you're coming from? Okay, great. Thank you, Chairperson.
I can do one-on-one, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Well, that was the other one. Okay, that's awesome. Okay. Can I give it to the gentleman and you'll come back?
My name is Mncwango from my FM. Quick one to Mr. Mncwango. Mr. Mncwango, we started the process of recruiting your former colleagues whom you have worked with for 21 years, and some of them trust you very much.
Yeah, so Michael, so I wanted to know now, so what is going on with that councillor? Because now you insist that, okay, no, it was being bribed, then he says no. Then what action are we going to say? What is the issue now? Is he still with the party? So after its affidavit denying what the DA has done, whereas he confirmed to you. So what's going on with that councillor? So the trust issue now. So what's going on?
Mlondo Khadebe from SABC TV News. The question is, Mr. Mncwango, you saying that you're going to be bringing back the members of the ActionSA that have left. How are you going to do that?
Yes, I appear to be the spokesperson in Newcastle today, Faisal. I must tell you, I intend to hand over the title back to you shortly. But thank you. No, so look, I completely understand. The point is that there is now going to be an investigation from the party side of things. So the party will look into these issues. As far as we are concerned, the information that we have at our disposal is that while there was an effort to solicit this resignation from Mr. Singh declined that opportunity and said he would not partake in such. So I think from our perspective we would look into it, but it looks like we're dealing with an individual who did not make the failings that so many politicians have by being excited or induced by these things. I might want to add, by the way, as an important point, that in this recording that I was sent, it is also made very clear that he's been offered things by other political parties, and that he was offered an amount of 2.5 million rand from the ANC, and he was offered positions in the Patriotic Alliance. So it's not just the Democratic Alliance. It appears that that is a grouping of parties. I think the point to be made, though, is that appears to be the company they're keeping these days and the way in which they're dealing with us. But the bottom line, to really dive into your point, is that these are structural decisions. So these are not decisions that I will make. I know our Senate will be getting together this week, and they can ventilate on those issues. But my personal view at this time is that Mr. Singh declined those solicitations, and therefore would make any consideration of our part very minimal.
Let's go to you.
Yeah, no, thanks. Menelis, your question. Look, I've resigned from legislature, and I really wanted to give myself a space to think about my political future. Now, I had really not time to start engaging with specific individuals, but I can assure you, what was more encouraging to me was that members from the former party and from other parties, when the speculation about me joining ActionSA, they were saying, Zwakele, if it's true, we are on board. So there are so many people excited already about the vision of ActionSA. Now, which then added to me to say, I'm not making a mistake. This is the right decision, because it's about the people, not me. And what's encouraging for me is not only members of the DA, it's members across political spectrum, which is very good and encouraging to say we can really build something here. Because I don't want to start having a light DA in the province. I want to build from what is there already. Because the party is there. They've got 3 municipalities. They were able to get seats in those municipalities. There's foundation already. So there are members from different political parties, including, I must say, what is more encouraging, again, these are people coming from different racial groups, which is very interesting. Now, for me, it says we can really build something strong in the province. Mlondi, to your question, again, there are members here in eThekwini who approached me to say, look, Mncwango, we left ActionSA. For whatever reason they gave me. But if it's true you are coming to ActionSA, we are coming back. There are members in Newcastle who phoned me and said, if it's true, we're coming back. So that's already encouraging to me to say there is really a fertile ground in terms of engaging with some of them. Obviously, I don't know many of them, but I think with leadership here who are working with these 3 municipalities and across the province, they will assist me in identifying those individuals who have left to try and engage them, because we need to build South Africa, and without really growing ActionSA, South Africa will fail. So we don't have an option anyway. We have to make it work. Thanks.
Thank you, Provincial Chair. To Nonku's point, the Provincial Chair is available for interviews straight after here, or you can schedule your interviews for telephonic interviews, TV interviews, all of the interviews, print interviews, all the interviews he can master. You are welcome to schedule those with us. You have our contact details, I think, in the MA that you've received. Otherwise, please get in touch with our National Director of Communications, Mr. Samgelo. He's right there. Mkopo is also a resident of KZN and a born person in KZN. So thank you very much. With that said, thank you very much for your indulgence. Thank you to the structures. We're going to give you one moment just after this. But yeah, if you need to take those interviews, Samgelo is available. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. We appreciate it. Have a good afternoon.
We need a photograph.